Welcome to the 20th Montgomery Summit. You're watching Monty TV. I'm Jackie Karsh. Joining me now is Sebastian Daumueller and Alexander Luycx from DC Advisory's European Market. Thank you so much for joining me.
A pleasure.
Well, we've had a lot happening in 2022, and that has affected almost everybody. What are you guys seeing in the European markets?
It's been a real I told you so moment for us because we've been coming here to the West Coast in particular with technology companies for about 15, 20 years. And whenever we brought a company that was actually making a profit, we got asked by West Coast investors, why on earth are you making a profit? Have you got nothing better to do with your cash? And finally now, cash has become king last year. So where we were always very focused on growth before, it has really shifted and is now a flight to resilience. So the most important KPI is no longer how fast can you grow. It is how good are you at preserving the revenue that you've generated. So it is revenue retention, it is strong unit economics, and your ability to turn a cash profit should you wish to do so.
Yeah, with so much volatility in the market, are you finding that your clients kind of need to sharpen up their act?
What we're seeing, and we saw that also when COVID started, is those companies that are performing very well continue to perform well, and investors do recognize that. So the playbook hasn't changed for businesses to be successful, but there continues to be a bifurcation between those businesses that really perform very well and hence will attract the best terms and the best investors, and those businesses that are not top tier quality and hence will require a bit more work.
Can we break it down by the European market, for especially the UK? You know, we have a little bit more political stability, but you guys are giving me looks like we're not. How is that affecting, what's happening there?
Yeah, I mean, we hope that by now we have some more political stability in the UK, but it was quite a tough 2022 for the UK with a lot of political cabaret, shall we say, in the aftermath of the summer with a mini budget that completely sent the economy into a tailspin. We feel now that we finally have some more stability and things are starting to look a little bit better. But clearly, as you rightly point out, the UK is only one small part of a larger Europe, and with Brexit still looming over us here, it's becoming clear that there's more and more of a bifurcation between the UK and other European markets.
Yeah.
No, the benefit is we work in software and tech, so to some extent it's a little bit insulated from what's happening microeconomically because people will continue to chase growth and the big exits that you can get in software and tech investing. So therefore the UK, Europe doesn't really play that much, but just on itself, yes, the UK has not been a great year last year.
And I think there's one point, Jackie, that is probably worth adding is around, as always, if there is a lot of disruption, that creates opportunities in other fields. So with increased levels of political and economic instability, what we have seen is, unfortunately, a significant rise in cyber criminality. And so if you are in cybersecurity these days, that is probably a good place to be in terms of building a business. A lot of investment is flowing in the sector, and enterprise-grade cybersecurity defenses have become table stakes for SMBs as well. So we're seeing a lot of activity in that space, for instance.
What should U.S. investors be thinking about when they're looking at these European markets?
Yeah, that's a very good question and very prevalent. We're seeing a number of high-profile funds setting up shop in the UK in particular. So Thoma Bravo, Great Hill, Spectrum, just a few over the last few months. And it is really important not to underestimate the idiosyncrasies of the European markets. And I'm going to draw out a couple of examples. So one is the way processes are run is very different. We have a very high rate of conversion from non-binding offers to final committed bids. And that allows us typically to run processes relatively narrow compared to the US, where our perception is, and also speaking to our US colleagues, it tends to be a little bit wider at the beginning and then it narrows down later. So we're struggling to include US investors in those narrow processes if we don't have a clear sense of deliverability. So if you want to play in a European process, be much more selective. Do your work early on and make sure you're deliverable. Don't develop a reputation of a tire kicker. That is really, really important. And the second piece is the market is much smaller. It's a much more close-knit kind of market, it's quite leaky as well. So you shouldn't underestimate the ability that a good advisor can bring on the buy side. We know that that's not very prevalent in the US, but in Europe, it can really make the difference with regards to process intelligence and the ability to give you the edge to win.